You are watching Omnis Protocol. I am Charles, also known as Omnis, and I have a Marvel Crisis Protocol battle report. And so to start things off, I just want to shout out Atomic Mass Games. They were kind enough to send me a copy of the Spider-Foe starter and a copy of the X-Men starter. Absolutely fantastic products. These even exceeded my expectations. I knew they were going to be a wonderful price point for people coming into the game. Like, I'm not sure any game has this good of a starter product. And then on top of it, they even included alternate art cards. So you get alternate art Brace for Impacts and alternate art of all of the kind of like key tactics cards for both of these affiliations. So I thought that was just fantastic. And so I really thought it would be fun to showcase the starters and just do an all Spider-Foes versus all X-Men game. And so let's just dig right into the video, because I know that that's really what you all came for. So, all right. Here, I've got Brett, who came out to play this game with me. So big shout out to Brett. I appreciate that we are able to, kind of do this, go through this little journey together of what ended up being a super interesting game. So here we have just finished deployment and we are rolling for priority. But what happens here is I did win priority. Okay. I thought this was the one where we had to roll for priority multiple times. But, all right, so we are powering up the characters. If you haven't played MCP before, at the start of each round, each character gets one power unless they have an ability that gives them more. So I believe I ended up winning priority. And so we were playing Inhuman Weapons, which is the extract that kind of goes across the middle. And then we are playing the new Secure, where after the first round, one of them turns off each turn. So this is a really kind of exciting and different turn. And I have my freshly painted up Shocker model, which came out of that Spider-Foe set. Again, thank you, Atomic Mass Games. And I'm going to use him as an extract holder right away, was my thought process. And the thought process here was, he's a reasonably durable 3-threat, so I thought it'd be worthwhile to get him up there. And I had a feeling that the odds of him getting shot at were going to be relatively high. And so I wanted to use that garbage truck to at least hopefully have cover, which should push his defenses kind of over the top, and make him kind of a less than fun target. Let's say that. I really just want him to live and keep holding that extract for me. All right. And so now it is Brett's turn. Brett is electing to activate Rogue, and he's kind of going with the same thing that I was doing. Rogue is... I like the idea of Rogue holding an extract. She can be a very offensive character, but she has so much ability to spend power in really like incredible ways that most of the time you just don't want to attack her. And so I'm already thinking like, man, how do I get that off of her and not make attacks on her? So here, like, we're going to kind of continue with the extract grabbing game. And there was a part of me that wanted to start off with Rhino grabbing one, but I felt like with the building and just which characters ended up on that side of the board, I wanted to go ahead and use Kraven to grab one and keep Rhino and Carnage for their ability to make attacks, kind of going into this first round, kind of threaten that other objective as best as I could. So now we got Brett going into the tank just a little bit. I think he probably would love to grab that extract, but knowing that he's going to end up with an attack from Rhino and an attack from Carnage, most likely. Now, what I think would be a good play here would be to probably grab it with Beast and then use, to me, my X-Men from Cyclops to pull him backwards and hopefully end up where he can be kind of on the other side of that size 3 building and maybe keep Beast relatively safe, where even if I can move and attack him, which I may not even be able to do, that he would at least still have cover. But I think he's choosing to go with a different plan here. He's going to go ahead and elect to use Gambit He is, to a certain extent, conceding that extract for me. To me, my X-Men is a really strong card, and so saving it for later can absolutely be useful. And so I kind of want him to use it here, but I can also see why you would hold on to it. So Gambit is moved up on the secure, also kind of utilizing that building for cover. So I'm still threatening that extract in a big way, and so I kind of have two options here. Do I utilize Rhino to grab the extract and just go, hey, I'm going to get up on points? Or do I want to bait him into still coming after it and maybe using Goblin to see if maybe I can get an Incinerate on Rogue, and if that would tune up the potential for later turns? I'm thinking, you know what, as much as I kind of brought an offensive team, we're playing a points game here. If I can get up on points, that would, kind of give me a reasonable, just being advantage through the rest of the game. And Rhino is fairly tanky, so I didn't feel insecure about having him hold that extract. So that is what I ended up doing. Rhino double moved, grab the extract. So Brett here, now that Rhino has already activated, is electing to walk. And I believe he is going to go ahead and make an attack on Rhino. Rhino does not get cover because he is larger than that building. Man, that big boy Rhino. So he got 3 with a wild. I rolled 2 crits, and the crits yielded a shield. So I block all of it. So I'm going to take no damage. And Beast is electing to teleport towards the secure. Rhino is not on the secure. So right now, the other thing about the secure is you do actually contest from range 2. And so this is right after not wanting to go after the extract to hold it with Beast, is now moving Beast up somewhat aggressively here to maybe try to get a secure advantage. And I'm looking at Carnage, and got the Carnage shirt today, and thinking about, am I going to just try to murder Beast here? Is that the plan? And so then that's got me thinking, does Goblin want to try to incinerate Beast first? And I think that's... So there's a couple things here where you could argue that you go for the Carnage attacks first in case he lives, and potentially, to me, my X-Men is used to pull him off of the secure. And then Goblin would have an easier time going after him and wouldn't be forfeiting any attacks. So I'd get the 3 attacks either way. Here, what I'm checking is I want to hopefully have Green Goblin close enough to that sign, which is a size 3, so that Goblin would be getting cover. But if I go all the way right up next to it, I think I'm actually going to be in Cyclops' walk and attack range. So I'm trying to kind of thread that line of getting within range 1 of it for some cover, but hopefully not starting off in Cyclops' range and taking an attack that I don't need to. So he's walking forward. He's going to throw an energy pumpkin bomb at Beast. We know that the 2 energy defense, Beast does not love that. Beast is starting off by rolling 0 blocks, and I end up with 4 damage and incinerate, 3 damage and incinerate. Good attack to start things off. And so that definitely puts Beast into the danger zone. And so there's hopefully going to be some Carnage snacking here. Maybe even some maximum carnage. We are going to have to see. So overall, I'm feeling pretty confident at this point. Turn 1 is going particularly well for me. There's still a Wolverine activation and a Cyclops activation, but neither of them are doing something that's particularly worrisome for me. There is a world where where Cyclops could move forward, make an attack probably on Shocker, and especially if he builds up some power, see if he can do some things, but maybe even to me, my X-Men Wolverine forward and see if the short move plus a walk gets him into an attack range to kind of get some violence on me. So he is going to go ahead and make the attack on Shocker. I rolled amazing on defense and was blocking 3 versus he had 1 crit, which yielded nothing else, not even the wild. So nothing really happening there. Cyclops not starting off as strong as Green Goblin. Okay. So now we have just Carnage and Wolverine, some of the biggest threats on this particular table, potentially. So, all right. Carnage is just going to start off declaring an attack on Beast. And I start off rolling pretty well. So I roll a crit, 3 wilds, and then the crit yields another wild. So we talk about, like, there is the potential that he could play, Dream, Xavier's Dream, and potentially save him, but there's another attack, and so the odds of Beast being able to live and Rogue doesn't have a power to spend, it's probably not the right turn for it. So I agree that you probably let Beast go there. So Carnage is reasonably powered up, and then he's just gonna walk over the car and also be on the objective. So, yeah, my dice starting off strong for this one. Goblin and Carnage are, like, very happy to be on the table. So now there's just a Wolverine activation. I'm not sure there's anything super critical here for Wolverine. If there had been a situation where Cyclops could have walked to within range 5 of Wolverine and taken the shot at Shocker and gotten a damage through and then handed a power to Wolverine, that could have definitely been a lot scarier if he walked charged. Or I'm the best at what I do. So here he's just kind of looking at staying out of initial threat range of Carnage and Goblin. All right, so that is going to end round 1. I believe that is going to be a score of 5 for the Spider Foes and Carnage. And then 3 points for X-Men. I realized when I picked the colored cubes for them that it is X-Men blue with a blue cube, and then I'm playing Carnage with the red cube, which was not intentional. I just thought because he was rolling red dice, because I was putting a cube in the tray to kind of help viewers remember which one is which, that might as well put the blue on his side so it doesn't blend in with the dice. But in retrospect, accidentally awesome, which accidentally awesome is the best kind of awesome. All right, so we're flipping Beast because he got wounded, dazed, and then we're powering up characters more. And we elected to have me roll for which one would turn off this time. And the one that's turning off is actually the one that has Beast, Kraven, Carnage. So very an interesting flip. Like the first round, you do have 4 points to score, but the rest of the game, you're only going to have 3. And I do still have priority. So I feel like this is time to do Carnage stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and play custom upgrades here. This costs 3, and it gives Carnage 2 additional dice when attacking his priority target, his singular focus. And if I get to KO them, the downside of the card won't matter, which is I roll 2 less defense dice against anyone besides Beast. But my hope here is that if I can kill Beast with Carnage, that that card is just going to be pure bonus here and no downside. And so Beast is no longer incinerated, so he does get to roll 4 dice now. 2 blocks for Beast, but I started off with 3 crits. He's blocking 2, and I have 8 successes on the 7 dice. So the dice are definitely with me. So here we're kind of going through rerolls. He is going to elect to spend for rerolls. His 2 rerolls yield no more successes. The one question here is, because he can play Xavier's Dream to live, there's a question of, do I want to use the leadership now and force him to spend more, which I am going to go ahead and do. It does reroll back into another block. Green Goblin's leadership is once per turn, you can reroll a defensive die. All right, so I have 8 damage. He has 2 blocks, 6 damage going through. He's got to Xavier's Dream for at least 2 to keep Beast alive. And so there is... Normally, I say only play this kind of card when you're going to legitimately keep a character alive. But because of Carnage's ability to go on a killing spree, that this could still indirectly keep another character alive by forcing Carnage to make another attack on Beast. So 4 damage goes through, so I get to give 4 power to Carnage. Here, even though I only need to get 1 damage through, 7 dice is a lot. But I really want this to go through, and I don't really have another use for Sadistic Glee, so I'm going to go ahead and roll it here. So I end up getting to have 9 dice. He has 0 blocks versus 6 successes on 9 dice, which is maybe slightly above average. So my dice continue to be reasonable. I get to kill Beast. So Beast is off the table. Way to start round 2 in this like fairly fun, chill game, just absolutely beating up on a friend of mine that's like, hey, thanks for coming out and playing a game with me. How about I just don't let you play your characters? So, Omnis, probably not the nicest person here. So I did take a damage from rolling a skull. And so if I want to heal for full, I do have to go on my killing spree. And so it does cost me power. And since Carnage is not holding an extract, I don't necessarily mind coming up and just doing brutal stuff with him. And one of the things that factor in is Carnage also stops opponents from getting to add dice when they roll crits. So I am going to elect to go on my killing spree, so he gets a short move and then gets to make an attack. So 5 dice attack incoming on Gambit. So he is blocking 1. Crit does not explode. I have 4 successes, so I deal 3 damage to Gambit. I've not played Carnage in years, and so I think my Carnage model is so happy to be on the table again. So Gambit is going to go ahead and spend for, I believe the ability is Enhanced Agility, which allows him to move short any direction he wants, and Carnage will take a damage. Yeah. So I am definitely choosing violence. I probably have a reputation way more as being an X-Men player, so picking on the X-Men will probably make Vodka Blitz sad. But I have chosen violence, and I feel like I have to at least lean into this a little bit. And so I'm just hoping that Brett does not leave this game. And I'm playing Carnage rules to pull Gambit forward. And then Carnage gets to make an attack. So this will now be the 4th attack of Carnage's activation. And so I end up with 4. Crits don't explode. So 3 damage will go through. What he has 2 health. So 2 health. Man, Carnage. If you have been excited about playing Carnage, the time is now for sure. And so that's, I did play 2 cards, but Carnage, killed 2 characters, only 6 threat worth of characters. And he does kind of tend to pick on 3s. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm coming out swinging, ahead on points and choosing some extreme violence. But we'll see if maybe the dice can swing back the other direction. Can Cyclops lead the X-Men to overcome the overwhelming force of, basically everyone that Peter has pissed off? So he would have the ability to pass here because he lost 2 activations. And so there's 3 characters where I have 4 left. And I definitely I don't know what the odds were of me pulling all of that stuff off, but I basically had, I would say, 6 above average attack rolls in a row. And so my dice have started off strong, to say the least. So here, there's a few options for him. He could potentially try to pick on Shocker to start things off. Could try to gang up on... looks like, so the choice here he's choosing is because Carnage has already activated, let's see if you can get a wound on him to set him up for maybe being able to be removed next. Carnage rolls 1 block, gets a crit, which does not yield another success. So Cyclops has 2 successes on 5 dice, so below average attack there, but gets a damage through on Carnage. So now there's 2 damage on Carnage because he took 1 from Gambit. And then Gambit gets to hand out a power. He might have forgotten handing out the power here, but I think he's going to remember shortly because I feel like he gave Rogue a power from that. So now it's back to me. I was moving the kind of damage token off of the car because they were similar colors. I didn't want us to forget about that. And so I do have some wonder, what do I want to activate here? Craven is holding an extract, and he is just not the tankiest character. And so I'm thinking maybe keep him away from Wolverine. And so I decided to kind of nudge him up next against that terrain to be on the objective so that Goblin could move and go somewhere else, but just at least not be staring down Wolverine. I think I could have certainly chose violence. I think Craven may have started within range 3 of Wolverine, and so there's certainly a world where he could potentially make a couple of attacks on Wolverine, and then maybe even play Surprise Webhead and have Carnage attack Wolverine, and he himself also attack Wolverine, and 4 attacks might take down Wolverine. But to be a little honest, I was worried if I took another activation away from Brett, that he would leave. I don't think he would actually leave, but I was really hoping that this would be a fun game for everyone. And so if I just leaned into my hoping that my dice do crazy things, but there I just wanted to kind of keep Craven slightly safer. Now, there is a world where maybe Craven doesn't even need to be on a point, and I should have kept him a little further away from Rogue. Rogue did get the other power from Cyclops. It might have just been like slightly off screen, but she's going to go ahead and charge. And so Craven is going to get picked on. So he has left the range 2 bubble of Shocker. But for some reason, in this moment, I actually kind of have Shocker on the brain, and so I was thinking about how many dice I was going to roll. And oh no, you're attacking Craven, not Shocker. And so it's going to be 3 dice, reroll 1 for me. Yeah, I was just having a brain fart. Shocker. So 3 successes for Rogue. I block 1. So first thing that happens is the wild sap power takes the 1 power that Craven had. And then I take 2 damage and get 2 power. And Rogue is going to get another 2 power, which put her on 3. So that does put her throw online. I have elected to not play any of the restricted cards in this game. I really just wanted to see how I felt about all of the Spider Foes cards. So she is going to go ahead and throw that piece of terrain, take away the potential cover. I end up rolling a crit, so that gives me 1 block. Now, all terrain does a flat 3 damage, and so I block 1, take 2. This is actually really perfect numbers for me. I was a little worried when the first power got sapped. Because it would keep me from getting to the appropriate amount of power to play Strategic Retreat. But she is now going to make an attack on Craven. I'm going to elect to play Strategic Retreat, which will move the objective from him to Goblin. Now, I didn't think about this in the moment, but she already has an objective, so she can't pick up another one. And so this might not have been as cool of a play as maybe I thought it was. And so I could have potentially saved this card, but Brett would still control where Craven drops the objective, which may not be the most convenient for Goblin, so it's not amazing. I do get to move Craven, and even though it moves outside the attack range, she has already targeted me with the attack, so that's when the range is checked. If you can move in to get cover, that can be nice, but that wasn't feasible here. So I had no power left for Rogue to sap, which is already another bonus of that. And then I had 1 health left. I take 1 damage and dazed. But the end result here is I'm not actually losing any points yet. She is contesting the point with Goblin, which could potentially lose me a point, but at least I got through the Rogue activation. And yes, it cost me a card, but I'm still holding 3 extracts and a pretty reasonable chance of holding on to them. So now I have Goblin, Shocker, and Rhino left. So now what I'm wondering is, Shocker has the inhuman weaponry. And so I'm actually thinking, let's make a shot on Cyclops first and just kind of see how it goes. And if I roll well, then maybe I lean into trying to kill Cyclops. If not, then I just kind of move away. So I have 4 going through. He has 4 blocks. I'm going to go ahead and use the leadership, which he rerolls into a blank, which allows me to get 1 damage through, so I don't have to take the damage from him using his defensive power. Quick draw, I believe. And because I only got 1 damage through, I don't think I want to stand there and shoot at Cyclops. And so I was kind of looking at the positioning there, and walking medium was just kind of awkward, where I wasn't sure how close to the point I was actually going to get. And so I elected here to instead do the climb and do the short move. Because it's range 2 contest, I thought it would be better for me to be on the terrain and be potentially getting cover from Cyclops attacks, at least, since I wasn't going to be moving outside of his range. All right, now Brett has chosen to pass because I have more activations left than he does. So Goblin now is going to use hit and run. And he is going to make a 5 dice attack energy into Cyclops. No blocks for Cyclops. And I think I just killed him. I'm pretty sure I had 5 or 6 successes there. Yeah, so 5 damage from Goblin. Jesus. I have had, every single one of my attack rolls so far, even that shocker attack roll, was above average. 4 successes on 6 dice is still pretty good. Cyclops just had a good block. So there's Cyclops, or Goblin is moving away. Which there certainly would be a conversation where I maybe move towards Cyclops' point, but I don't really want to get closer to Wolverine. So now he's going to Spender and do, I believe it's called Knight of the Goblin, and do a 7 dice into Rogue. And has 2 blocks, but I have 1 success. And so even with the Goblin reroll defensively, I have no chance of dealing damage, and the conditions from this attack are off of damage. So I finally rolled a bad attack roll. We got there, fam. But, all right. Goblin has activated. So now there is Wolverine left, and there is Rhino left. Goblin also staying on that point with Rogue because Shocker is within range 2 of it. I am currently controlling that point. One of the things we're discussing there is Carnage is close enough to be contesting that point. So right now, no one would be scoring it. There's 2 damage on Carnage at the moment, so it's kind of thinking this might be the opportunity to get him dazed before he has a chance to activate, and he's going to have priority next turn, so there's a chance he could remove Carnage from the table. So he only rolled 1 success, but I only rolled 1 block, and he pierces my 1 block, which turns it to a blank, and then 1 damage will go through. So that, I think I'm also bleeding. So that's 3 damage. I think I have 5 health left. So I believe what we're looking at here is Wolverine is going to go ahead and Spender, which is 7 dice physical. He was just forgetting that he did. He was like, oh, I did do damage. Do I get to hand out power? Unfortunately, Cyclops' leadership is range 5, and Rogue is just slightly out of range for that. So Berserker Barrage, 5 successes. I block 1, which means I'm going to take 4 and live on 1. but Berserker Barrage does get to throw. And so he's going to throw me into the building. I do not have Brace for Impact, so I just have to take the 1 damage, and that will daze Carnage. So Brett, to a certain extent, has gotten at least a little bit of revenge on Carnage for everything that has happened this turn. So now Rhino. He's got an objective, but he's probably the tankiest character on the board. And so there's a little question of where do I want to go with him? I might as well try to impact scoring. And there's only one character contesting that particular secure, which is Wolverine. There's no point in me going for my kind of like bottom left secure because that one is turned off. So he's going to walk, make an attack on Wolverine. My good dice are back. I had 2 crits. I'm going to use the leadership to make him reroll 1 block. So still blocks 3. Which I believe is going to be 2 damage going through. But I get to place next to him. And so I'm going to spend the power that he had plus the 2 power to throw the car at Wolverine. I thought I might still benefit from that terrain for cover or something at a certain point. Wolverine blocks nothing, so he just takes 3 damage from the car, but he has 7 health, so Wolverine is still up. I just wanted to push through more than 2 damage there. Since I got the 2 damage through, if he activates first, he would just heal that back, so I needed to push some damage that was more than 2 to like actually have it matter. So I end up scoring 4 because I have Goblin and Shocker controlling that secure, and then I have 3 objectives. And then the only point that Brett scores is the extract that Rogue is holding. I went ahead and had him roll this time for which one will turn off, and is going to be the point that Cyclops was on in the kind of upper right. So here we're just cleaning up, getting the activated tokens and dazed tokens off the mat. If you're playing with the new starters, you'll notice that I do have the old tokens because I have acrylic coated mine, and I've been too lazy to acrylic coat the new tokens. So they just look a little bit different than the ones that would be coming in the starter. They're both absolutely valid to use. All right, so Carnage got dazed and Kraven got dazed. Beast is off the table. Cyclops and Gambit both also got dazed. So definitely potential for more characters to leave the table this particular round. We're continuing powering up some characters. Priority has changed sides because I had last activation, means that Brett now gets to go first. So there, I think there's some potential plays, but Carnage is loaded with power. So I think there's a really big argument here for take Carnage off the table. There's a little bit of question of who do you do it with? Do you want to do it with Wolverine or do you want to do it with Gambit? Gambit is very like his dice can spike really high, but it's smaller pools. And there's no potential throw. So he is going to go ahead and do Wolverine. He's going to do his charge, or I'm the best at what I do, and a Berserker Barrage. So this means wilds count as 2, and he's rolling 7 dice. If you hadn't played Wolverine since back in the day, his best at what I do could only use his normal claw attack, but now it can use the spender and only cost 2, so it's really effective. I ended up with 1 block, 4 successes out of the 7 dice, so fairly average roll, but just really hurts that he doesn't get any wild. So 3 damage goes through. Carnage has 4 health remaining. All right. And then he does get to throw me, so I'm going to hit the building again, take 1 more damage. So now 3 health left. I end up with 4 blocks versus 2 wild, so he would pierce 1, but that would be no damage going through. And I'm bleeding, but I live. And he heals back 2, so there's 3 damage on him. So it's Carnage time. He's got a lot of damage on him. Now, there's a very interesting, when I first start looking at here, I'm full on power, and I'm near Gambit and Wolverine. And so the first thought is there's a cool synergy with Carnage where he has a spender that starts off at 7 dice and he can sadistic glee, which makes the whole attack action roll 2 more dice. So the problem is that if I roll a skull in both of those attack rolls, I would take 2 damage and be down to 1. And if the attack on Gambit doesn't kill him, Gambit would get to use enhanced agility, walk away from me, deal a damage, kill me, and then I would not get to take another action. And so it is kind of relying on me. If I were going for that play, then I would have to get a kill on one or the other. And while the odds are reasonable, they're not great. And so I start considering, do I surprise Webhead first to spend some power? But what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and use the area attack spender. But I am not going to sadistic glee it and just utilize some of my power and make a 7 dice attack on both of them. I was thinking about surprise Webhead and like, is there a world where I do that first? Try to go for a big play on that side of the board. Craven ended up being just a little bit outside of range of Wolverine. So yeah, I definitely am deciding I'm going to spend her, but I am not going to sadistic glee. There is a world where maybe I make the normal attack with sadistic glee on Wolverine first, but I have 7 successes. And so there I get to sadistic glee. And so I get to heal to full. Poor Wolverine. Carnage moves a little closer to the objective. Just kind of worried about Gambit moving out of range of the follow-up attack. And so then I get to make an attack on Gambit. And so I have 5, and he has a wild on defense. I have him re-roll it. He blocks 1, takes 4. So Gambit is going to live. All right, I do get power off of the sadistic glee, which it does the reason why I had to do sadistic glee because I needed to react to that initial attack. And so he at least can kind of move to having cover. And it looks like I totally forgot to make the spender attack on Gambit. But I have another attack action, so I'm going to sadistic glee. And so he has 2 blocks from the wild and then 1 from cover. And so no damage goes through. And so I was doing the things in the correct order where I needed to use sadistic glee before making the area attack, but there was just a lot going on, and it looks like I didn't realize until rewatching this video that I forgot to make that attack. So, but it does save Gambit's life there. So it's an important thing. when you're doing these kind of complex activations is to, not forget that stuff. Because you go too far past, you just forget. Inversely, you can also, forget that you've used an ability already, and it's once per turn when you use it at the beginning of your turn. So just kind of be conscientious of that stuff. There is a world here where I could play Surprise Webhead to try to take the Gambit activation. But at this point, I'm kind of happy that that Carnage got to make an attack and got to daze Wolverine. So I'm feeling reasonably well over here. And sometimes it's nice to save cards for maybe a key closing moment. There's a little bit of, do I want to kill Gambit and take the opportunity for you as the viewer to potentially get to see a cool Gambit activation happen? And so I think I have passed turn here and elected to not surprise Webhead. And so I do have 2 damage now on Carnage because I took 1 from Gambit moving away, and I believe I had a fail in the Sadistic Glee attack. So there is the potential. So Gambit does have a range 3 energy attack, and the kind of conversation that we're having right now is how important is it to kill Carnage? And the reality is it's really unlikely that I'm going to be able to win this turn. So there would be one more round, and his odds of being able to make a comeback do get better if he can smoke, so Gambit has 2 wilds and a crit. So that ends up being 5 successes because he counts wilds as double. I block 1, which makes me take 4, leaving Carnage at 1. And he got explosive, so he's going to deal a damage to Rhino. So Rhino takes 1, but gains 2 power. And so then Gambit's going to go and do another one, but he wants to kill Carnage with the explosive damage, so he's just going to roll it on Rhino, see if maybe he can spike and get both. Rhino is blocking 3. He has 1 hit. He's going to spend a power to make it into a wild, which won't get any damage through on Rhino, but it does trigger explosive, which will finally kill Carnage and end the maximum Carnage with more Carnage. All right. So we now both have 1 character off the table. But overall, I've put a lot more damage through, and I'm higher on VPs. So now Cyclops is going to go ahead and play, to me, my X-Men. He's going to go ahead and spend 2, and so that Cyclops can pull both Gambit and Rogue backwards. Or towards Cyclops, anyway. So backing up Gambit first. And of course, the tool catches his bow staff and cards and knocks him around a little bit. But we get him relatively close to where he was going to be. At first, he's kind of choosing kind of maybe a possibly too wide of an angle off Cyclops. And it does have to be towards Cyclops. So I use my tool to just kind of help him get as far, as wide of an angle as he can. All right, and that ends Gambit's activation. Here, I'm thinking about activating Kraven, and I honestly forgot that somehow in my head, I remembered that he got dazed and is on his injured side, but I forgot that he no longer has an extract. So in my brain, I was thinking, kind of keep him and his extract safe on the other side of the board. In retrospect, I think he probably should have just gone after Gambit, who has 1 health left. Since I'm not holding an extract, I might as well try to take that activation away from him later on. I just forgot that I was not holding an extract. And I was like, I need someone to control that point over there. Might as well be Gambit. Or might as well be Craven. All right, at this point, so I have Goblin and Rhino Goblin, Rhino, and Shocker. He has just Rogue. And so I think he's going to pass. And so this is like, there's a world where you could try to utilize Rogue and try to like take an activation away. But doesn't have, an amazing... Oh, he still has Cyclops left. So he does have 2 activations. Cyclops had only played To Me My X-Men. Cyclops had not activated. The other problem with the Gambit play is that Gambit is moving back onto a secure that doesn't score points this round. And so that's what's kind of interesting about this secure, is that you don't always get to back up in the direction that you want and be rewarded for it. Sometimes you're backing up to try to be safe, but it's not going to help you camp a point this round. So I believe he's going to go ahead and activate Cyclops and is shooting at Goblin. I get to block 2 with cover, and he had 2 successes, so no damage on Goblin. Goblin is definitely winning the range 4 energy attacker war this particular game. I believe here he is going to hit and run and make another attack. But there's a little bit of deliberation of, should he potentially attack Shocker, but is going to choose to go after Goblin. No successes on offense at all. It looks like he has forgotten to actually resolve the hit and run, but I think he remembers here, or we will both remember here in just a moment, and kind of catch that up. Because I think in my head, I'm like, wait a second, am I attacking Cyclops? Why was I in my head that was not going to be a thing that I was going to immediately be able to do? And I was like, what? Why was I thinking that Cyclops was not going to be there? And we're like, oh, yeah, you said you were going to do hit and run, so you should probably actually do your hit and run. You normally spend the power from hit and run before you make the attack, but you didn't get any power from the attack, so it's not like it doesn't mess with the board state at all. All right. He's not too worried about being on the objective, so he's just kind of like trying to keep his leadership safe, and so he's backing up Cyclops a bit. I think I might have kept him on the point and just kind of angle behind the garbage truck a bit, so you could keep him a little bit closer, but still likely very safe from damage. I'm electing to go ahead and utilize Shocker, and I'm going to see if I can stun Rogue. So he's blocking 2. I have 3. And so I have 4 successes. He's going to block 1. Invulnerability is going to take 1, so I'm going to get 2 damage through and then stun him. Or her. Stunning Brett's character. And I got a decent amount of power, so I'm actually going to go ahead and utilize his spender here. Hoping that I can get a stagger on Rogue. He rolls no blocks, but I only rolled one success, but it was a wild, so I do get the stagger. And so overall, I'm happy about that. She doesn't have too much power on her, and she's stunned, and she's staggered. And so I have 2 characters left, and so he's going to elect to pass. This is definitely a risk. He has Children of the Atom, so he could play it and remove both status effects from Rogue, which I had forgotten about when I was going for all those status effects. But it's only 2 damage on her. And so here in my head, I was thinking, because honestly, I had totally forgotten about Children of the Atom in this moment. And so I was thinking, is it worth trying to kill her right now when she has, stagger on her and is not going to necessarily have a great activation? But I was like, what else am I going to do with an activation right now? And I can't pick up her extract even if I get the days, because both Rhino and Goblin are already holding objectives. So I go ahead and attack Rogue. I have 4 successes into 2 blocks. I'm going to go ahead and use the leadership, which rolls into a blank. No status effects go through. I will get 2 damage through, which has her down to 2. So possibly spender time for Goblino. He's going to do Knight of the Goblin. Or am I? Thought that's why I was picking up the tokens. Yes, I am going to Knight of the Goblin. 7 dice energy into Rogue. And I end up with 2 crits. I end up with 6 successes. And so that is going to daze Rogue, taking away his last activation. In retrospect, that was most of the time I strongly discourage players from letting your opponent get 2 activations back to back. But I think this was a case where, because she had damage on her, you should at least probably play Children of the Atom to heal her back up. But didn't. So there's been at least a couple of mistakes, at least tactical mistakes. Rhino, I'm just going to elect, there's not a whole lot of point. I could go after Gambit, but I just want to score that objective as opposed to leaving it. I'm already at a point where Brett is scoring 0 and I'm going to 15. And so he rolled a blank, which will put it back onto Craven's point. And so, kind of in an interesting place here. If I score 1 point, I will win the game here. And I'm holding 3 extracts, and I'm starting off on 2 objectives. So he definitely needs some big swing potential here to kind of come back into this thing. He's flipping over Wolverine, because Wolverine did in fact get dazed last turn. So we're kind of joking around about how many of my guys can you kill? Now the thing is, Cyclops, Gambit, Wolverine, and Rogue all actually have pretty crazy spike potential. So I always like playing out these games. I think a lot of people might quit a game at this particular point, but I like seeing how close some of these things get, because sometimes you can be behind and come back and win in a way that you didn't suspect, or get it a lot closer than you probably would have expected. And it can show just how much one slightly better tactical play can keep you in stuff. So Rogue is going to go ahead and charge. And I'm electing to use Trick or Treat. I remembered that ability. The one thing that I would have liked if I had remembered there is that we should have checked to see whether or not Rogue was in range 2 of Shocker before I picked him up, so that we would know when we're placing him down whether she had charged within the range 2 of Shocker or not. But I just wasn't thinking about that yet. All right, Rogue does take 2 damage. Like I said, I had this kind of secret agenda to see how close I could get to using all of the abilities on all of my cards. Carnage did use everything that he possibly could have. The only thing he didn't use was his Nemesis, which there's no Eddie Brock on the table, so there was no way to use that one. So I did use all of Carnage's. Once I used that ability, I have used everything that's possible on Green Goblin's card. And I'm pretty close on Shocker and Rhino to having used everything. So this was a spender into Shocker. And Shocker is getting thrown into Goblin. So Shocker takes 1 more. And at first I was thinking, and Goblin takes 1. I'm like, oh no, wait a minute. Goblin has to roll. All right. And Goblin blocks all of it, takes nothing. Passed a power to Gambit from the Cyclops leadership. Figuring here, might as well pick up the extract now, so Rogue is going to go ahead and pick up the extract. So she's going to now Southern Hospitality Shocker. Shocker is going to add 2 defense dice. This means I have used every ability on Shocker's card. Shocker is blocking 3. Pretty good for Shocker there. No damage, but she does get to throw. So Shocker is going to take another 1. Goblin now has to roll. And he takes 1. So here I'm thinking it's probably a Craven turn. I was thinking about this afterwards, and I think I might have made a small mistake in my Craven activation. So now I'm double checking cards. So let's see if I can pull up a Craven card while we're doing this real quick. So we're doing a Spear Thrust on Wolverine. Oh, no, I think it's fine because I rolled the wild. So pretty good. So the first thing that started off is that I used Expert Tracker to make it so we're rolling an additional die on Wolverine. And I got 4 damage through. No, I think I was right the first time. You always get to move when you kukri strike. Or when you spear thrust. And so now what I'm thinking is, I was thinking the order of things of like, when do I potentially want to play Surprise Webhead? And now I'm going to go ahead and kukri strike so that if I need to play Surprise Webhead, I can spear thrust and it will get additional dice. So Wolverine is blocking 2. I have 2 successes. I'm trying to decide if this is the right time to utilize the leadership. I am electing to not utilize the reroll now. And I'm just going to give him bleed, and then I just gain a power. And then I'm going to surprise Webhead with Kraven and Rhino. I've got to spend all the power for it now. So even though I'm thinking there's a good chance that Kraven can get this kill, I wanted to have Rhino spend for it as well, just to be sure. In retrospect, there's a world where I should actually make this attack with Rhino first, because he kind of actually needs power more. So I think my order of activation here was a slight mistake. So he had 2 life left, so I get 2 more power on Kraven, and this is where it would have been more useful for me to have that power on to have that power shifted over to Rhino. And so now I'm going to expert tracker Rogue, so I get an additional die when making attacks on her. And I wanted to use his other ability on Gambit so that if he moved, he would take a damage, but there's a range restriction for it. Now, if I thought about it, I do get a movement after the kukri strike. And I can't remember if I had rolled the wild, or if I'd rolled the wild on the kukri strike and then got the movement, where I could have actually maybe repositioned Kraven more. But honestly, I kind of forgot that was an inactive point. That kind of slipped my mind. And so I was thinking I wanted to keep Kraven there for scoring, which was a little bit of a mistake as well. So I've gotten Wolverine off the table. So we're up to 3 characters removed from the table now. He has Gambit and Cyclops left. We were talking about it. He was like, I was not expecting Wolverine to die to Kraven, but I've played Kraven a lot over the years, and I have a lot of respect for him. And then now with access to Surprise Webhead, he's very strong. All right, so Gambit is going to go ahead and walk forward. Oh, I just realized, I didn't realize it until just now. But Gambit, because he got attacked by Carnage, I'm pretty sure he would be bleeding, but that would only help him in the moment because he would get to play Children of the Atom and he would actually like heal a damage back and have more power. All right. So he is going to use his spender to beam. He is within range 2 of Shocker, so he loses a die. So he's 5 dice down to 4. I have 3 energy defense. I am blocking 1. I'm blocking 1. He has 3 successes. And so he is going to kill Shocker there. And so he drops the objective. And so now Shocker's power's off, so he gets the full 5 dice on Goblin. And he rolls a lot. And I roll 0 blocks. And so he had a wild plus 4 other successes. So he basically just one-shots Goblin. even if Goblin had not taken 1 damage before, he could have converted a hit to a wild and still one-shot Goblin. So all of a sudden, something that I thought I was sure I was winning this turn. Now, I still could kind of lock in the win if I just run away with Rhino, who is holding an extract. But I have this side goal. We're kind of playing game bingo here, and I wanted to try to use all of the abilities. And so I have a card left, and there's an ability on Rhino's card that I haven't used, which is Stampede. Unfortunately here, because I spent for Surprise Webhead, and I didn't elect to make the Rhino attack first, it means that that Rhino is only on 2 power, so he can't Stampede. And so I think actually in this moment where I'm kind of deciding what to do with Rhino, I'm forgetting that Kraven is not winning me the game in this moment. And so I'm thinking, let's go for a big play and make it so I'm taking like and like there is this really funny world where if like Rhino runs away and Cyclops moves up and one-shots me, it would be pretty funny. Yeah, so I think what I want to do here is I'd like to play Robbery from Rhino. So I'm thinking about walk, attack, see if I can get enough damage on Rogue, and I wanted to see if I could throw them into each other and maybe get a double daze in response to his double daze. I keep wanting to move Rhino medium, and that is just not how it works. So Rhino walks forward. I'm going to make a 5 dice physical attack onto Rogue. I roll a crit. He rolls a crit. I'm going to have him re-roll the crit. It goes into nothing, so he's going to invul. I have 4 successes, so we reduce to 3. And so I get to... the placing Rhino, I believe, happens before the damage. So here, I wanted to be within range 1 of Gambit and hopefully on the objective. And so I use Robbery, which makes Gambit drop the objective. And then I throw Gambit into Rogue. They both have 1 health. The problem is that he still has Brace for Impact, still a really good card. They both spend for it and live on 1 health. And looks like I did stay outside of range 4 of Cyclops. So he gets to move and make 1 attack. And if he can deal 6 damage to Rhino, we would have another turn. So kind of wild how close this got quickly. I definitely could have played this in a way where Goblin runs away with an extract instead and like let Wolverine kill Kraven and potentially run Rhino the other direction. Could certainly be what I was going for, but this is a showcasing video. I really wanted to showcase like what these characters can potentially do to see if you as the viewer would be excited to pick up any of these, play any of these, and get excited about one of these affiliations. So we're talking about it like either way. Gambit, like Cyclops can spender and hit Rhino, but he doesn't have the power for 2 spenders either way. So there's really no reason to not just walk onto the point and then you're going to spender and see if the dice explode. Can it swing back and we end up with another round? Dun 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 dun. Dice time. And I was actually, to be entirely honest with you, I was a little sad when I rolled and I saw that I had a really good block. So it was blocking 2, reducing 1, taking 2, which means that Rhino is going to live which means that I will, and then I actually aggressive towards Cyclops because he is injured. So there I will get to score 2 points. As move to 16, I actually would go to 17. And then he scores 2. So kind of lopsided score wise, but I think the dice were really with me at the beginning of the game. So, you know, that's not Brett's fault. Shaking a little rust off maybe on both sides, but I haven't played Spider Foes in a long time, and this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed all of the characters, and I really enjoyed the mix of tactics cards. So I can definitely see me playing more Spider Foes in the future. I had a blast. And to be entirely honest with you, all of my games with Brett are super fun. So big shout out to him. I was really glad we got to like make this little adventure happen with doing all X-Men versus all Spider Foes. So strongly recommend if you're watching this and you've been considering getting into MCP, I think the new starter boxes are the best way to get into it. The core set has terrain, but that doesn't necessarily help everyone. Sometimes you've already got a community with a lot of terrain and you're just like looking to get kind of a solid mix of models to start things off. And those the starter sets come with dice, they come with the tactics cards, they come with a good mix of crisis cards as well, actually more than the core set. I believe there's 6 extracts, 6 secures when the core set comes with 3. And so you're starting off with a really good place there. You get dice, you get templates, and you start off with a baseline roster that you can just start kind of buying models and adding to. So I don't want this to sound too much like an AMG advertisement. And if you're watching this like, what an AMG shill. But I think everyone would agree. Like these things are priced at like around $100 and they come with an insane amount of stuff in them. So it's just such a great way. Like I would put that up against any game's ability to just have an amazing entry point for someone to hop into the game. So if you don't need terrain, if you want terrain, then I would definitely probably start with the core set. But I think this is fantastic and it's very thematic. You got to kind of play your favorite stuff. But I hope everyone enjoyed this matchup between, you know, two like really cool affiliations, and maybe this jumpstarts your interest in MCP. But until next time, you should do the normal YouTube stuff, Omnis. Like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you watching videos. The longer you watch videos, the more it helps me, and we'll wrap things up there. Later, nerds.